wish he'd do something like that.
Citizens for Better Education is a grassroots organization with 1,500 citizens that are opposed to the $370 million school bond. We believe the district priorities are misplaced, that academic achievement and dropout rates are the #1 priority. We can find no documented evidence that bricks and mortar enhance student performance. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to all of you today because we feel as if we've been maligned and discounted in the press. We use numbers published by the district only to be told those numbers are wrong. We request test scores and information, which should be readily available, but often find it takes weeks to retrieve. Yet, Mr. Rogers and Mark McCormick always seem to have those numbers. I've been waiting 5 months to find out the number of classrooms in this district. We do not have a network of 49,000 students and their families, many of whom were used and mobilized this past weekend to distribute bond materials throughout the city neighborhoods with computer-generated lists of the names, party affiliation, and addresses of neighborhood residents. And unlike proponents of the bond, we have no intention of raising $400,000 to get our message out, but instead will rely on the reasonableness of the Wichita citizenry to see the folly of spending $370 million on fiscal facilities. What the district champions to get this bond passed is a laundry list of so-called critical needs, but we contend that this bond is not about safe rooms. If it were, those would have been built in 2000 in lieu of air conditioning. This bond is not about overcrowding, as student enrollment has remained flat since 1990. This bond is not about the end to force busing or to bring parity to the assigned attendance area, as the end to force busing should save this district hundreds of thousands of dollars. To lobby on behalf of parity for the assigned attendance area is disingenuous, as the 2008 bond allocates less than 5.6% to the assigned attendance area. This bond is not about athletic facilities, unless you agree that lack of maintenance should be rewarded, and state-of-the-art facilities used by fewer than 30% of the student population is justification to spend $61 million. And this bond is not about aviation or engineering technology. Otherwise, the district would not have abandoned the 2000 bond allocation to Wichita Area Technical College for aviation technical education in 2004. I cannot find out what happened to that money. And this bond is not about facility improvements as a means to boost student achievement and less than 27% dropout rates. Just ask the countless of districts across this country that have thrown more money at bricks and mortar and admittedly have received no return on their investments. Let's take a look at budget and enrollment numbers as well as achievement levels. The 2000 reconciled budget was $311.5 million. District enrollment was 49,100 students. The 2008 reconciled budget was $550.6 million, with $110 million of unused, unencumbered cash carried forward into this school year. District enrollment was 48,705 students. The 2008-2009 budget is for $605.4 million, an increase of $293.9 million in 8 years. Test scores, according to the Kansas Department of Education, have remained flat since 2000, with 12 schools, Wichita schools failing to meet spring or state competency levels this spring. In February, the Wichita Eagle reported that Wichita school averages scores were 15 points below state averages in math and 13.5 points below in reading. We are the lowest ranked district out of 26 in Sedgwick, Harvey, and Butler counties. The voters approved a $286 million bond in 2000. The district received an additional $8.5 million this year from the state as a result of a 2006 Kansas Supreme Court ruling. In August of 2007, a 2 mil property tax increase was levied by this Board of Education without a public vote. So despite all of the additional monies, depending on the subject matter and grade level, 26 to 48% of our students cannot read or perform mathematics at grade level, according to Flint Hill's Public Policy Fellow John LaPlante. And this includes the most recent scores noticed in the Wichita Eagle last week. But let's get back to those original critical needs and offer some cost-effective alternatives. In a FEMA study, well, a FEMA-designated safe room, we have to spend $72 million in additional square footage to get the FEMA designation. There is an emergency contingency plan in place at all schools, and our children are safe. We think this argument for FEMA safe rooms is misleading because we have to spend an additional $72 million in order to get that designation. Overcrowding, there's probably a need for a new Northeast and possibly a Southeast high school. The cost to build those two schools would be around $60 million. Remember that $110 million of unencumbered cash? We have the money to do that. The district says it's not feasible to nudge boundaries. We contend it is feasible if it is cost effective and saves millions of dollars. Building new schools forces boundaries to be withdrawn. But yet, when we want to nudge boundaries a little bit to accommodate a few of the schools that are overcrowded, it is not feasible. Keep in mind that the 2000 bond built 7 new schools in this district, yet enrollment has remained flat, so we question this as a critical need, and we still have 8 new schools proposed to be built with this bond money. The growing disenchantment with the price of education has forced several Connecticut school districts to think outside the box. They have created a calculator. It's available to all states and districts, which determines the cost of constructing and staffing a new building or addition and compares it to the cost of simply subsidizing the overflow of students to attend private, parochial, or home schools. The program offers families a choice and so far has saved Connecticut districts hundreds of millions of dollars. There are 9 schools in the assigned attendance area and directly adjacent to it. None of these schools are at capacity. Louverture is the closest to capacity, yet no bond money is allocated to that school. Nevertheless, the latest numbers posted by USD 259 show that as of May 2008, there is room for an additional 583 students in the assigned attendance area. Plus, the new state-of-the-art Gordon Parks Academy is located in this area. It accommodates an additional 300 neighborhood children with open enrollment left for another 300 kids at large. Isley Magnet School is in the core of the assigned attendance area. According to the district website, it has the capacity for 450 students. In May of this year, the enrollment was 202 students. In 2005, they put on quite a large addition, but the proposal in this bond is to tear that school down and replace it with a new $10 million school. Another inferred argument made on behalf of the AAA is that the end-of-force busing will bring untold financial consequences. We suggest if there are consequences, the hundreds of thousands of dollars saved in busing can be used. And remember, less than 6% of the total bond money is dedicated to this critical need area.